So I was just about to come out and start doing my monthly stats video and noticed a couple of foxes are in the garden again. So I don't want to frighten them off, so I might wait for a bit. Give them a chance to finish doing whatever they're doing, because if I get any closer they'll just bolt. Well, they finally moved off, so I can get on with the video. So welcome everybody to the monthly stats video for September. It seemed like a pretty good month. It seemed like it was pretty sunny for most of the time. We did finally get some rain, but on the whole I think it was pretty good. So let's look at the numbers and see whether or not it was. We generated a total of 727 kilowatt hours in September. This is obviously well down on August, where we generated over a megawatt hour, so only about 3/4 as much, but still not too bad considering the days are getting a lot shorter now and the sun's getting much lower, so quite happy with that. We imported 292 kilowatt hours from the grid in September. This is well up on August, but we had to do several quite long trips in the car, take my son back to university a couple of times, and that's quite a long way, so we had to get a lot of charge in the car, and there just wasn't enough solar available to do that for those lengths of trips, so we had to charge up overnight using our Octopus Go off-peak charging, where we just pay 7.5 pence a kilowatt hour for that 4-hour period. So those trips all the way up north and back actually only cost us £10 or something, which is way cheaper than it would cost in petrol. So it's really good tariff to be on if you've got an EV, and if any of you aren't on that tariff, I would definitely recommend it. And if you look in the show notes, or I'll leave a link at the end to my referral link, and if you use that, then we'll both get £50 off our bill. I'm not actually sure if they're accepting new people at the moment because of the whole situation with the energy price crisis, but if you ever do think about joining Octopus when things have settled down, then yeah, please consider using my referral link and help us both out. Our best day was on the 17th of September, and on that day we generated 44.7 kilowatt hours. And here is the graph for that day, and it's a nice pretty smooth curve. Obviously wasn't completely blue sky. There's some spiking going on around the middle of the day, so it must have been a few odd clouds at the height of the day, but on the whole it was a pretty clear day by the looks of it, so that was pretty good. Our worst day was on the 13th of September, and on that day we generated just 8.5 kilowatt hours. You can see the graph here. It wasn't a terrible day. I've had much worse. We were over a kilowatt most of the day, and peaking at sort of 2 kilowatts in the middle of the day. So not too bad really, but obviously well down on the best day. So let's have a look where all the power came from in September. Here is the usual pie chart, and you can see that 60% of the power was coming from my main Solax inverter, and 13% of it is coming from my 1 kilowatt array, which is also on the roof in the same place as the array that feeds my Solax inverter. So between those two, that makes up nearly 3/4 of my total output is coming from my roof mounted solar panels. And then the wall mounted solar panels generated about 20% of the power. And what's that? That's a total of 2 kilowatts, and on the roof there's a total of 6 kilowatts. So that is, not bad, considering it's not 1/3 of the output, even though it's 1/3 of the size. But it's still very respectable, considering these are vertically mounted panels. So I've had a lot of people asking on after watching some of my videos about my vertical panels, whether it's worth doing, etc., etc. And I would say most definitely, if you've got a south facing wall and no shading and stuff, it definitely is worth doing it. It makes a significant difference to my output. So yeah, definitely, if you can, do it. And then the shed mounted solar 7.6, so only about half as much as the roof mounted solar on the house, even though it's very similar size array. But that's because now that the sun's getting lower, there's quite a bit of shading happens on the lower part of the shed here from a few trees in my neighbour's garden, so you don't get quite the amount of output that I otherwise would. So now let's have a look at how much of the power that we generated we managed to keep, and how much we exported. So we managed to keep 92.5% of everything that we made in September, and we only exported 7%. So that's back closer to what I like it to be, which is about a 5% export. If you watched last month's video, that it was really high for the export figure, but that's because we were on holiday, and while there was no one here, there was nothing to use the power, so it was just mostly being exported. But yeah, now we're all back and using power in the house again. Now we're getting much more close to the normal sort of level of about 5% of power not being used, and the rest we're managing to keep. So that's pretty good. My Monocle software is doing its job well. There's still some room for improvement, and I have been meaning to spend some time working on updates to my software to fix a few bugs that sporadically cause weird things to happen, and just need the time to really sit down and understand these edge cases and why they're happening, so that I can put fixes in place for those. So now let's have a look at the pie chart for where all the power that we have used in the house went, and we can see that about 1/3 of it was going into the Model 3, and 12% of it was going in the Nissan Leaf, and 15% was going into heating hot water. And the anything else is quite large this month, and that's almost certainly because I was doing some testing with the electric radiator just on the last few days, so that doesn't have a specific category, and so that's bumped up the anything else block quite a bit. Gaming is reducing down now, and this next month coming in October, I expect that to be significantly lower, because now my son has gone back to university, so there's only one of them on the console all the time now, so that should come down quite a bit. And let's have a look at the pie chart for where all the energy we consumed came from, and you can see that nearly 70% of it was self-generated, and 30% of it was imported from the grid. That's obviously again up a lot on August, but this trend should continue as we go into the winter months. I'm going to have to start importing a lot more to charge the cars and things like that, but but that's going to be done using the cheap rate night rate electricity. So maybe I should modify this pie chart for next month to show not just how much came from the self-generation and how much came from the grid, but how much came from the grid at peak rate and how much came from the grid at the cheap rate that's available on Octopus Go. I should have those figures in my system, so I should be able to modify this to do that. So for next month I might try and change this pie chart to show that, so that we can see of the power we imported, how much of it was during cheap rate and how much of it was in the expensive rate. So now let's have a look at the imported power broken down into half-hourly segments, and we can see that in September I have started pulling power from the grid in earnest, but you can see that it's all during that cheap rate that's available on Octopus Go. Never really pulling any power from the grid during the daytime. So that's the stats for September. How did that compare to your September? Was your best day the same as mine, and your worst day the same as mine? How much did you manage to generate for the whole of the month? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm interested to see what everybody else managed to get. Videos about my fossil fuel videos. I did mean to put one out last month. Every time I went to go and do it, something came up that brought me close to an answer to something else, and I thought, well, I'll just wait until I get the answer to this thing and then I'll do the video, because then I can add that to something I'm going to talk about, and that sort of just kept happening, and so I never quite got to it. I'm still just waiting on one more thing, so there will be an update this month. I'll make sure I definitely do my update for this month, and within a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. It is coming. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video. Cheers.